Cool. Well,
how are you?
Yeah, really good. I really enjoyed the movie. I mean, I'm a huge fan of yours. I mean, clearly, I still maintain that Killing Them Softly is in my top 5 films of the 21st century. It's an absolute masterpiece, that movie.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Really great. Anyway, I won't talk about that this whole time. I wanted to first, I want to begin by asking how you first came to meet both Nick and Warren, and did you strike up that kind of friendship you've got quite early on?
I met Nick at the drug dealers in like 1986, you know, and I was just like an innocent private schoolboy getting my first heroin habit, and he was the Prince of Darkness sitting on the end of the couch watching a documentary about earthworms. And I sat down and said, what are you watching? And he just turned around and bared his teeth at me, and he was pretty scary. And then like 3 months later, I was going out with his girlfriend. It was his girlfriend at the time, and the song that he wrote about it was all over the radio. It was this song, Diana. And so that's really how I knew him. He was like my girlfriend's ex. That's what he was. And we just got along. Like we'd talk on the phone. He'd call up to speak to her, and he and I would just start talking. And, you know, she used to talk about him a lot, you know what I mean? And her stories were fantastic. So you just couldn't help but admire Nick, you know. But then, you know, we first worked together on Jesse James. And I think where we really became close was when we did One More Time with Feeling. I mean, we were friends before that, but like, there's something about like actually physically working with him where you're going to get to know a person. You really get to know a person when you work with them. You see what they're made of and who they are and how they deal with difficulty and what their attitude's like, and, you know, what are they like under pressure, and, you know, and Warren's just an adorable human being, you know. They both are. They're just wonderful. But it's been, you know, through the whole process of working together that we've become friends, you know.
Because I mean, I find Nick so incredibly inspiring. His outlook on life, his ability to find reason is sort of contagious, really. I mean, you've spent a lot of time with him. Has that rubbed off on you as well? Has he left an indelible mark on you as a person?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, their whole way of working, you know, like the faith that they put in their instinctive abilities, you know, is something that's really rubbed off on me. Like the first movie, there was just no other way to do it but to just like wing it, you know. And the dividends that pays is incredible, you know. You know, there's so much fear involved in filmmaking, you know, because it's expensive and there's so many people involved and there's so much can go wrong, and you forget how much can go right, you know, if you create the right circumstances and if your fortune favors the bold, you know. I mean, I think it was helped by the fact that when we were making One More Time with Feeling, it wasn't the primary creative act going on. The primary creative act was the record, you know, and I was just like a pain in the ass in the corner. And none of it was as important as what had happened with Arthur, you know. So like, it was just like, it was the first time I'd ever made a film that like just didn't fucking matter, you know, and that was incredibly liberating, you know. And it was sort of through that I realized, it was through that process that I was able to kind of find a new way to it, you know, to filmmaking. And it's something that's been just a godsend, because I kind of love filmmaking in a way that I didn't before, you know. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, as a filmmaker on set, you have to be so wary and conscious of all the elements, the framing, the lighting, the performances. On this occasion, did it ever blur the line between being a director and being an audience member? Because did you find when Nick was kind of performing, you'd get lost for a moment, almost like a fan might in that moment?
Well, I mean, as a director, that's my job, is to become an audience member. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing until it's actually, until I'm captivated by it, when I'm watching it on the monitor and I don't know what's coming next and I want to see what happens next, I keep shooting it, you know. I'm never, I'm wait for that. And I don't let it go until I've had it, until I feel like I've got that. So, to your question, I think the director's job is to be able to be an audience member, you know.
At what stage did you decide to make this movie? Did you have this idea of working with them again, and you were kind of waiting for an opening, or did it literally take the pandemic and lockdown for the genesis of this project to be born?
No, it was Nick wanted to do it. Because basically COVID, you know, they had to cancel their tour. They were going to go on tour like Ghosteen for a year, you know, and then COVID fucked everything up. And, you know, I mean, I think he just wanted to put something beautiful into the world, you know. And I was finishing off Blond, you know, like I was cutting Blond, so it wasn't the most convenient thing. But I went and listened to Ghosteen again, and I really wanted to shoot the songs. I mean, that was my motive for it, because Ghosteen was something I'd been around the creation of. You know, I was living with Nick in Los Angeles at the time that he was recording, at the time that they were recording it. And I was in the recording studio when they were basically doing the vocals and the overdubs, and when they mixed it. So, and it wasn't the greatest time for me. So I got very emotionally involved with all the music and really wanted to shoot the songs, you know. Yeah. So when he asked me to do it, you know, I sort of wanted to say no, but then I had listened to the record and I was like, okay, I have to do this, you know. And I got to, you know, and but the film became something else, you know. Yeah. Like I didn't realize it was going to be the movie about like what it's like 5 years. What have I learned, you know? You know, he's got a really simple, positive stuff that he's saying. It's very sane. What Nick's saying in the film is incredibly sane. And it's really good advice. You know what I mean? I didn't know that's what the movie was going to be. But, you know, worked that out as we were doing it. It became clear.
Is that one of the thrills of sort of documentary filmmaking? Is that ability to kind of take on a different form as you go?
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. But I also think that every film is also about the people that are in front of the camera. You know, every film is also about, I mean, you've got the characters, right? And you've got the story, but somehow it's also about the real people, the real actors, the real stuff that's really going on with them, you know. And there's a kind of a, you know, what I'm always looking for as a director is some overlap between the two, you know, because I think I'm always trying to see what's going on in front of me, you know.
I was going to, I mean, because you mentioned obviously that you were cutting Blonde. I mean, obviously, like everyone, I'm so excited to see that movie. I mean, it's a film everyone's already talking about. There's lots of the dialogue is very much underway about this film. The rumors and discussions have started. Does that make you sort of laugh when you kind of read through news articles and social media and see the kind of rumors, or is it can it be quite frustrating, conversely?
Yeah, yes and no, you know, like I don't like this sort of tone of like Blonde's going to be too weird, you know what I mean, for like for people or something like that. That's just sort of they've already decided it's not like an awards kind of movie because it's just going to be too fucking weird. You know, I don't know where they get this idea from. But you know, I think a bit of drama is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course.
I mean, the movie's fucking amazing, dude. Yeah. It's great.
I can't wait to see it. Because I mean, I think I was reading your sort of interviews. You have been full of praise for Netflix and their support for the movie. But I guess now it must be so important for you that the film that launches is the film that you want to present to the world.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, I think. Well, at least until they see it, right? I mean, at least until they see it. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Like American journalists in particular can be a bit strange. Like I think one of the objections to Jesse James, you know, at the time that it came out was like, who paid for this? This movie doesn't make financial sense. Do you know what I mean? That was the attitude towards it. Like, this is a fucked up, fruity art movie and with Brad Pitt, you know, and why would anyone pay for this kind of thing? Which I think is unhealthy.
Yeah.
You know, it's a sort of an unhealthy attitude. Like, but, you know, like I want movies to surprise me. That's what I want. You know, I want to go to the theater and have something, you know, kidnap me or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And about, because I read a quote of yours where you said you only maybe like a movie every year or two. I was just wondering, and maybe a film that surprises you. So I was quite interested to know, what was the last film you would say that had that effect on you?
That I really enjoyed? I saw this documentary on Hulu called The Meaning of Hitler, which was fantastic. You know, it was just like trying to understand what he meant, how it happened, what it means about us, how we're supposed to think about it. And it was absolutely fascinating. You know, it was like sort of posed a lot more questions than it answered. And it just made you realize how incredibly extraordinary the whole situation was, you know. I really like that. I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't seen any of the films. At the moment, the most I can manage is like Doja Cat videos.
Yeah.
You know, I love Doja Cat.
Yeah.
And I like to watch AC/DC, you know, in Glasgow in 1978. But I haven't been watching a lot of films. Like I don't think I've seen any of the Oscar nominees or anything like that. I don't think I've seen any of them. Just trying to think what else I've seen. I like that TV show, The North Water. Did you see that one?
Yeah, that's
with
great.
Colin Farrell and, you know, about the whalers. I thought that was great.
I've not seen the Hitler documentary though. Is that an area, the kind of the Second World War and that period of history, an area you'd ever be interested to explore in one of your movies?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm interested in all kinds of history. Like I love Imperial Rome, the Judeo-Claudians, emperors. I think I'm completely fascinated by them. I mean, warfare in general is pretty interesting, you know. You know, I think about the First World War. I think about the 20th century, and was it all about? It was those three cousins, you know, Willie, Nicky, and George.
Yeah.
Queen Victoria's grandsons, and they all went to war. And was the 20th century just caused by the fact that Willie had a short arm? Was it all about Willie's arm? You know what I mean? Is that why millions died? You know, and also is that the 20th century is something, you know, since 1950 we've worked very hard to avoid the first half, what happened in the first half of the 20th century, and it's a little bit scary now. I think that all the people that remember are dying, you know, and we're dealing with generations that don't remember how bad it was, can't even visualize it, you know, with the kind of rise of nationalism. It seems a little bit scary, you know, like we could be headed into, we need good leaders, you know, and it doesn't seem like we've got them, you know. It seems like democracy is failing, and, you know, we live in alarming, interesting times, you know. Yeah.
Well, I live in England, so I can concur. I concur with the lack of. I said I live in England, so I agree on the lack of leadership at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm talking about America, mate, where it's just fucking logjam craziness. You know, it's just they've managed to reduce the left to a bunch of shrill maniacs talking about identity politics. You know what I mean? Like, because the left has been so co-opted that they don't give a fuck about anything left anymore. That's like healthcare or welfare or, you know, anything. The only thing they've got to sort of scream about is shit that doesn't matter, you know, and they're starting to make the right look sane. And that is really scary, you know. So anyway.
Well, my final question was, because I'm just wondering.
Last one. What do you reckon, Matthew? Matthew's giving me the the wind up, but let's
last question. So I'm just wondering, because you were saying about how you found the creative process between Nick and Warren quite inspiring. I just wondered if you've been on set, if you've been making anything since, or if you envisage that when you do make something, you might take some of what you've learned from Nick and Warren's process into your own work.
I have actually. I have. And you know, I definitely did it on Blond, you know, where you know, where I just sort of just do it. You know, you just throw people in and you start doing it. Like you start rolling before you start directing, and you just are trying to make shit happen on the fly that is self-conscious and unthought about, you know. So I have learned from them. You know, I have tried. I mean, it'd be interesting to like try and improvise a movie. I've got a little story that I could probably do it with. It involves a monkey. And, you know, you can't control a monkey. Like, I mean, if you've got Marlon Brando and you've got a monkey, it's all about the monkey. It's not about Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about a movie with a monkey that I could just maybe wing the whole thing, but you know, there's another film I'd rather make. Anyway.
Cool. Well, I'd happily sit down.
I'm trying to do different things if I can.
Yeah,
you know,
I'd happily sit down and watch you make a film about a monkey.
Not play to my strengths.
Yeah. Anyway, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Andrew. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Stefan.
Cheers, and best of luck with this and with Blond as well.
Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!